Hello everyone, today I'm going to be teaching you how to create manuals. Now there's a couple things that I'm going to cover in this tutorial. One of them will be how to start a track in a manual position, how to sustain a manual on a flat line, how to sustain a manual on a curved line, and how to sustain a manual by taking advantage of a fakie position. Let's do a start in a manual position. We want to draw a line, just like this, that collides with Bosch in the first frame, like so. By doing so, it bounces him upwards and lands. Now, of course, he falls over and stuff like that. So to make sure that he actually bounces when he lands, turn on onion skinning, extend the line a little bit, and then drag it up and down until you get something like that. And just like that, you get a manual start. For some manuals, the rider is already sustaining in a balanced position. In this case, this is a nose contact point and a string contact point manual. You can also have a tail and peg manual, which looks like this. However, for manuals that are balanced on one contact point or cannot be self-sustainable, like this one, you will require using either acceleration lines or blue lines that push against him to balance. Before I continue on teaching how to create manuals, I'll be using two types of terminology. The first one is underbalancing, meaning that the rider falls backwards. The second terminology is overbalancing. In this case, it's the opposite of underbalancing, in which he falls forward. Now, to get him into position to balancing him on the front of the sled, you want to give him a decent amount of speed. Then they can go backwards. You want to tilt it slightly, and then simply just draw a line backwards. This will layer the two lines together, and as you can see, now he falls forward. There's different ways to do it, but this is just the simplest way that I figured out. You can also use blue lines right here, which push the rider backwards. However, you don't want to overdo this because he will die. So now that, in this case, when I turn on onion skinning, he is overbalanced. What you want to do is simply draw a red line. Because I used the blue line, he gets popped up into the air. You want to push this down so he gets closer to the line. Zoom in. Once you have this red acceleration line, pop it up. Then go to here and keep going up and up and up until eventually he becomes underbalanced. Go one before, and now he is in that position. Now all you gotta do is just draw a horizontal line, drag it up until it just barely touches him. If he's still overbalanced, drag this back and keep dragging it back until he becomes underbalanced. Once you reach that point, bring it forward one frame and continue on like so. And after you find the next frame, you will repeat the process until you finally get a nose manual. Now to create a manual on a curve. This is slightly more difficult to do, and I'm going to show you my technique on how to create these. To create one, you first don't actually do the manual. You simply just draw the curve itself. So now, as you can see, I have now created a decently smooth curve. If you want to know how to make these, I created another tutorial on how to do these. What you want to do is that you want to take a segment, you want to delete it, and replace it with a red line. As you can see, this is now underbalanced. You don't want that unless you want an underbalanced manual. In this case, I want to go for an overbalanced manual. So I want to go to the next line that is hit. This one's not hit, so we ignore that one. We draw a red line, still underbalanced. You undo that, and you repeat this process until you find the right line. As you can see, this one results in still an overbalance. So now you keep that one, and you continue your process. And just like that, you now have a manual on a curve. Fair warning on this following trick, it requires a lot of experience with feathering the mouse, so it takes a lot of precise tweaking, and it's a very time-consuming trick. But if you're willing to spend that amount of time, you may proceed. Finally, I'm going to teach you how to create a manual taking advantage of the fakie position. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can actually get a fakie position, sometimes by accident, sometimes not. If you want to do one that's very consistent, I'm going to give it a decent amount of speed, just like so. And then you want to go hold down Alt, press the right arrow key, press the right arrow key one more time. And now you can see that it says physics iteration number 1. You want to turn on onion skinning to make sure that all the contact points are decently spaced apart. You want to draw a gravity well, have this gravity well being in contact with that. Now, as you can see, this line right here is orange. To fix this issue, you just draw another line and you push it up. And just like that, you got a fakie position. Now, to get into a fakie manual, you have to press this downwards. You have to get a very specific angle. Alright, so after a bit of tweaking, as you can see, I got a decently balanced fakie manual, but of course it's still underbalanced. So now, what I do is that I get into this position right here, where it's mostly stable, draw a blue line, push up until it makes contact. You want to draw the line backwards, and as you can see, from doing this, you can see that if you look at the onion skinning ahead, it's affecting Bosch. What you want to do is that you want to tweak this until Bosch becomes overbalanced. What you want to do next is just simply push it back one. Then you draw another line and you go on to the next one. As you can see, this is overbalanced, so you want to do the next one. Now it's underbalanced. You draw another line on top of it, and then you move it. After a lot of practice, you eventually get something that looks like this. It's one of the most smoothest manuals you can possibly achieve, and one of the upsides of this type of manual is that it's all completely made out of X lines, meaning that you can use this in XY tracks, and because it uses X-line stabilizers, he does not lose any speed. So this will conclude this tutorial on how to create manuals. This is an update on Hanuman's old video on manuals, including a couple of new ways of how to create them. But anyways, feel free to subscribe to see more tutorials on how to make tricks in LineRider, and also some new releases in the future. But anyways, I'm Arglin, and have a great day.